We displace about 21 vehicles, existing vehicles in this location on this site. But you can see it's a relatively small, compact footprint. I think it lays kind of lightly onto that existing site. But, you know, again, we've got to look at it from a conceptual standpoint that that building, as we show now, is just an envelope. It doesn't have really any character right now yet to it, or we don't have an elevation to it. But it's primarily proposed, and the detail proposed, to look at this analytical decision between Site 3 and Site 5.
Walter?
And I presume the U of I is okay with losing those 20 spaces?
We tried to minimize. Their question back to us is how can we minimize those existing stalls, because they are very much of a premium. But knowing that we are gaining quite a bit of program elements on that particular site, yes.
Tim had his hand up.
Well, I did, but I don't think I do anymore. I was looking at the bus parking along Railroad.
Yes.
And trying to figure out how a bus, if there was one slot left where your pictures are of the buses, how a bus could get in there. And maybe they can back into that size of a hole. I don't know.
Well, if the stars aligned, we asked, the important thing is, if it was the stars aligned, how many transit vehicles would be on this site at one
Same time,
knowing
yeah,
the saying, you know, they've got to be all just perfect to be just the way you would see this.
Thank
and
you.
what we have is essentially 5 of the vans, if you will, that are anywhere from 22, 29 foot in length, and we could have 2 of the larger full-size buses, one of the Trailways and one from the Wheatland Express.
Thinking about
And then you literally have that full expanse all along that edge of railroad.
Yeah.
Tom?
This here is currently not a parking lot, correct? There's a building there, like an old
No, it's
warehouse?
Parking. It's a parking lot.
There's no warehouse tucked to
Like to the north?
Oh, this way further?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So it's
so
relatively
this is
new. You can see it's relatively new paved.
Oh, okay, so that's an actual, that's not a,
That's not
actually
an
a
artist
photograph.
rendering, no.
Okay.
No, that
And
was-
would this, the other question I have is a use question with respect to the Jazz Festival. It's probably the time when we see the most buses in Moscow all over the place. They oftentimes run the traffic backwards or not backwards, but they run it one way coming at the direction that the buses usually, for that 1 week, the buses go in the wrong direction
Opposite.
from where they usually go. And
You
so
talking
I'm
on
trying to-
Deacon?
What's that?
On Deacon?
On Deacon.
Okay.
So we're over a different street, but the question I'm trying to ask is, do you know if this particular facility meets the Jazz Festival needs? Would they change the way they run buses in a different pattern? I'd hate to have us plop something down and then that 1 week out of the year, it doesn't really work. And so
That'd be a good question that I'd be able to pose. No, this evening, from about 4:30 until 6:30 today, we had an open house for the
Yeah,
public.
and so
then
I'm sorry I
tomorrow
missed that.
We'll have our technical advisory committee meeting in the afternoon, and we'll ask that question.
I'd love to hear what they say about, patterns, traffic patterns.
Carl was here this afternoon, but maybe the question didn't arise.
No, it didn't at that, but that was good comment.
Thank you.
But Tom, they don't reverse Railroad Street.
No, they don't. They reverse Deacon, but then my concern is just that when they reverse Deacon, typically, that means that Moscow Valley Transit has to change their whole program. And what I'd rather see is, can we come up with a program that, I want to make sure that there's not a conflict with the way Moscow Valley Transit or whoever's running the buses for 51 weeks out of the year, and then 1 week it's suddenly going in some other pattern, because I think it really affects how people get on the buses and know about the buses. So I'm just trying to find out.
And it really comes down to programming,
I don't know the answer to that
scheduling.
question. Maybe they
Yeah.
do.
Never knew you
So,
talk with your
Moscow
hands.
Valley
Tim?
won't use Deacon if the parking structure is put in
Right, so I
place.
just want to make sure that we have the
It's a
1
well-
week out of the
well
year
point.
where we really
And
could
that's-
use a transit center,
I
and
know.
I want
I
to
know.
make sure that
That's
it
one
works.
that we'll make
That's all
sure
I'm
that-
trying to get to. That 1 week, I
So
want to make
please
sure.
take that under
From
consideration.
a programming aspect.
Exactly. That's all I'm asking.
They'll be on.
It's like Wayne has a question too.
No, not
Before we
really. I was
decide.
just going to say, Tom, his questions there is, I think that's a problem that certainly would be able to be worked out. One of those
minor things that as you get close to production and you start utilizing the facility, you have to fine tune a few things. And that's probably one of the things that have to be fine tuned.
And I see it
But
really
I
as a
wouldn't anticipate
programming
that to be any
element.
kind of a problem.
Correct.
Buses for the Boise State game.
So now, as we look at, here's Site 3. So now Site 5, we're just going to venture right across the way here.
If I may, before you leave,
Yes?
see something on there, I don't know what it is. It's out of here. Watch your eyes, Tim. What is that and that?
That is some landscaped area. We went ahead, you'll see, with outside of the dark heavy area that we look at comprising number 3. We had to re-block, if you will, and modify some of the existing stalls. You know this is a much broader radius, so vehicles, when the transit buses do come out onto, exit off from the site onto Suite, we have to have them a little wider radius. So it's just a modification that we're showing 2 other locations in the existing lot to the 4 that need to be, in Lot 4, need to be modified.
Gotcha.
Okay? Just kind of to square
Just wanted
things
to make
up, so
sure
to
your
speak.
work wasn't going unnoticed.
Thank you very much.
The green
Okay, so
one.
venturing on to number 5, you can see again the similarities, how it sets up here is College. Now we can kind of get a good sense where it comes out to Jackson, and the main connection is the hospital right up above us here, Paradise Creek. Now you notice on this one where we've looked at an extension over Paradise Creek on a bridge structure to gain other access and provide connectivity for pedestrian and or for patrons or parking, if you will, onto Lot 60 and to this overall site. Now you notice on what's a little bit different here, maybe a little more orientation, this is the art and architecture existing building. College right now underutilized, and from this point on, it doesn't have really curbs or much sidewalks in that area. So really a part of this proposal along College, you start seeing some hints in regards to some streetscape. The city staff has started looking at within this area. It starts providing some widened areas for pedestrian crosswalks. There's an extension of Asbury Street that currently is on could penetrate through here on the transportation plan, probably terminate in a cul-de-sac, but ultimately then connect up to Jackson in this location. So we have a connection from here, and what we're doing is just bringing Asbury into this project just a certain way, what's necessary to gain access, if you will. Transit vehicles are on College. You'll notice they're on both sides of the street here with a platform. This is a 2-story structure now within within this district, looking at probably an overlay that will have a 2-story requirement for a 2-story structure to, if you will, try to tighten up the footprint the best that we can. Covered vehicle bicycle storage. On site, we've located the transit vehicles which would park in this location, and this dotted line here reads a future building pad. So part of the urban renewal district, we're looking at trying to activate these, again, Asbury Street by putting building pads along the frontage. You can see those extended probably down in that location as well. So right now, looking at advantage of parking at this location, and ultimately, as the catalyst starts and as development start coming on, seeing that building could be located within that location.
Now, this is private property on this side of the creek.
This is the Brocky private property, correct? That is for sale.
And what,
So that makes it level.
2 questions. The first, you're really proposing that people cross College to buses parked on the opposite side of the street?
At the intersection, yes, we do.
But you're going to have that Trailways bus right there. Which way is he going? Is he
He's going south. He's going down College.
this,
He'll only
this
be
way? So he's
That is
going
correct.
west?
He's going west, correct. I'm sorry.
Okay, so that, and
That's
these are
correct.
going east
That is correct.
to get the doors next to the curb.
That is correct. Passengers will only load and unload onto widened, enhanced sidewalks.
But they would have to cross College to access the buses on the opposite side
That
of the
is
street.
correct. At the intersection, there would be a crosswalk, a very designated crosswalk. This whole area when you look at this, whenever you start introducing, you have the public side, you have the transit facility, you really need to give those visual indicators to the motorists, pedestrian, bicyclists, that you're entering into a highly congested area. So you would have signalization, you'd have raised crosswalks, maybe even a enhanced pavement, possibly in the street, just again as you start coming into that area. That's one component. You'll see differences between the two sites.
And what's the difference in price, please?
You're looking at approximately, due to site acquisition cost, about $1.4 million more on the site. You're looking at increased street improvements, and site acquisition are the two factors that really make it significantly more Site 5 than Site 3.
And you're improving this intersection as well?
Yes, we are. We're looking at you'll see that what's in black is the proposed, and again, this is a conceptual line, but just you start looking at probably splitting that out so that the buses turning southbound onto Jackson have a little more comfortable turning radius, and then a pedestrian median, and then restriping.
You better get those other grants, Bill.
So if option 5, yeah. So you can start seeing that some of the components. You're looking at a site that's a little more stretched out. It has to deal with some public improvements that happen in order to make it function properly. So tomorrow, as a part of the exercise, now is to go through and vet this through further scrutiny. Through our level 3, start looking at truly the ability of each of the individual sites to accommodate the program elements, both now and in the future. Start looking at site circulation components and the pluses and minuses between the two, the costs of the development, the ease of development, and then looking at some of the environmental and or zoning issues. So that'll be going on tomorrow on the two sites with the Technical Advisory Committee. And we start looking at really essentially our next steps on the project. Essentially completing this phase we're anticipating in through May. We'll be looking at the preferred site selection. Once that's determined tomorrow, we're going to get into a little bit more detail in that site design, get more refinement, and start understanding building elevations, knowing right where those specific bicycle parking areas, what's covered, what's not, start even talking down into the amount of landscaping and those type of things and elements. We will continue with the open house and gain public input through those, as well as other committees and Technical Advisory Committee. And armed with that information, start moving into, again, the second phase. And as second phase would start to look at, if everything does progress, we'll be start, again, defining the additional funding available, and then the project timeline from that point on. I think it'll probably, if everything continues smoothly on, probably initiating the final design, construction documents, if you will, this late summer and fall. Bidding then early in spring, and then looking at construction throughout the summer, and then concluding at the end of next year in 2012. So that's kind of a snapshot of the time frames. Start as alarm, get our sites selected here tomorrow. We'll be progressing. So any other questions?
And just to make sure I'm clear, Site 4 fell off the table because it was discovered that the university wanted to build a new building on it, and it didn't have that much difference in how it would work.
Not much difference.
To number 3.
More the latter. That's correct. 3 and 4 are really almost as one, if you will. We split it because of the pedestrian parking between there. But then when we start looking and said, that's really almost the same site. But with the university and others are saying, how can we keep that footprint as tight and confined as we can? So it stayed on Site 3, if you will. There's some little improvements in 4, as you picked up, and then Site 5 kind of stands by itself. But it does have some issues in regards to ownership and others. Yes.
Is there some reason why Site 3 is a single-level site instead of a multi-leveled site?
Well, we're looking at primarily, you have it's not constrained in regards to the ownership, if you will. Within the urban renewal district, we're really trying to keep that footprint really tight, if you will. There are some advantages in regards to if you have the university with the transportation and the parking and services, if you will, in one side, and then we'll have more of the public where Moscow Valley Transit would be and so on. Common maybe space or lobby in between. You could see how those two functions and operate on either side. It seems to fit site on that one site better as a single story and operate so.
It's cheaper to go out than up?
At times, yes, it can be, particularly when you're dealing with the property. If you're dealing with expensive land you have to deal with, it's cheaper to go up.
Okay.
Other questions? Yep, Tom.
This side of the table's trying to.
Uh-huh.
I guess I would like, even if property's cheap, I'd like the idea of being able to go up and maybe, if you're going to put a foundation in and you're going to put a roof on, you might as well stick another 8 feet of room or 10 feet of room or whatever it is in the middle, if we can. Maybe putting
Lawrence
some
is gonna
offices
put a
in there.
restaurant up there.
What's that?
Lawrence is going to put a restaurant.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Talking about 2 stories, is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
I like the idea of the second story, even if it's on the university property, if
It'll
that's
be
possible.
it'll be interesting again. Now this will from the technical advisory committee members and the stakeholders tomorrow. They'll be the first time they'll start seeing some of the details. Some were there
Right.
tonight, but how they would work in some of the spaces. So it'll be an iterative process as we start going through the next design refinement on that preferred site, how that would function. But we'll carry that comment on most definitely.
Okay. And we can't convince the architects to just move down the road and build their building on the corner, and we scoot back over to Railroad, and I guess not.
That's a rhetorical question, I think.
They didn't really, they didn't want to offer to move over.
No.
Okay.
No.
So,
They have their 50-year plan.
and then my last question is, on the Site 3, where you had the buses on the road.
Yes.
Going back to what Walter was asking, is it possible that maybe a change in how the buses move through that area, like if they went down Asbury and then came and did kind of went around the block, would we be able to change that so that there wouldn't have to be the walking across across College if we decided that was the
This was
piece that kept it from happening?
on Site 5?
Yep, or 5, I guess, Site 5, yeah.
We do have some site constraints on 5 just because of the property ownership. That would be, again, looking at, maybe talking with, again, art and architecture. It's kind of their front door. There's a drop-off, ADA drop right in front of that area. If we could look at maybe some reconfiguration of their frontage, looking a little bit further how far down the road their building is, we can extend the length of that drop-off, so we just have it on one side. That'll be some comments that we'll have and input that we'll get from our technical advisory committee members. And that'll be some other questions, again, we would be able to talk with the university on.
Does the sculpture studio move if they're successful with their capital campaign?
I asked that question, apparently not.
Oh, so that's staying there.
Different program, different
All right.
elements, yeah.
Thanks.
Would this get a piece of public art?
Oh, yeah.
It would be a
Be a
Yes.
public,
Bike racks.
big bus,
bike lockers.
Bike lockers.
big steering wheel, like
Already
you drive a
bike
big
locker.
white bus.
Are there questions for Tom?
Artful bike lockers.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And I appreciate the water.
Thank you.
Sure.
Been talking since 4:30 here since.
We appreciate your stamina here and good humor.